Record. So this afternoon we are here with Jasmine Hine, who is an assistant psychologist at Psychology Chartered, and she is going to chat to us about her current role and the path that she took to get there. So firstly, thank you, Jasmine, for taking your time out today. Can you start by telling us what you do for a job?
Yeah, so I work as an assistant psychologist. So essentially that means I kind of sit directly under a clinical neuropsychologist. It's all a bit complicated, but he essentially runs the company and he's the kind of big boss who you'd go to. So I sit directly under him. And I have kind of various different roles within that. So I do quite a lot of admin, which has actually been really kind of useful because I never really thought there was admin to do with psychology, but there absolutely is. So I kind of speak to clients, I speak to solicitors, I speak to other psychologists, other healthcare professionals, kind of liaise with them. I kind of book appointments and do all the kind of funding and that kind of admin side. And then also it's probably about a 70-30 split. So I probably do about 30% admin, and then 70% is actually clinical stuff. So I'm always under supervision of that clinical neuropsychologist. So he's always in the room with me. But I get to assess clients, kind of plan and work with them and do kind of interventions or like a treatment plan for them. And we also do a lot of kind of psychometric testing. So kind of just so we can use that kind of before and after, and just seeing how they're getting along. So yeah, that's it really.
So when did you know that this is what you wanted to do?
I think that's a very good question. It was a lot later on, I think, than probably a lot of people my age. So I didn't actually do psychology A-level at school, didn't really know anything about it, to be honest. My school was very focused on kind of producing lawyers and doctors and things like that, which is absolutely great, but you don't really open yourself up to what is actually out there. So I took 2 years out of school when I finished, when I was 18. I went abroad for a year and worked in a school just doing teaching, really. And then I came back here and did the same thing for a year. And then I just did some research. I just looked around what kind of courses were available. I was a bit of a home bird, so I wanted to stay nice and local. So I kind of looked at, Southampton, Portsmouth, Chichester. And just kind of saw what courses were available. And I kind of based it on what I was interested in at school. So I absolutely loved sport. I'm a massive keno for sport. So I kind of looked at the sport courses. And I actually originally applied for sport and exercise science because I thought that was quite cool. And it kind of had loads of different, you could do loads of different things with that. And then about 2 weeks before I was due to start, I met someone who actually was doing the sports psychology course, and they were kind of telling me all about it. And I was like, oh, actually, that sounds really great. So I kind of did a quick email and managed to get my course switched. So I studied sport and exercise psychology at the University of Chichester. So that was my undergrad. So I did that for 3 years. And then there is a route you can follow to do with that, but it's very kind of football and men heavy, which is great for school. But I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know that's for me. But I really enjoyed the kind of exercise and the physical activity side of it. So I then did a master's in health psychology, which is kind of where I want to go. So there's loads of different kind of routes you can go with psychology after. It's not just kind of clinical, which would be your straightforward psychology, which I think everyone kind of thinks of that all psychology is really. So there's loads of different options. So I did that. And then eventually...
Can I just interrupt you and ask, what did you enjoy about the health psychology side that meant that you then went on to do a master's in that?
Yeah, so I actually found it really, like, it's quite a niche kind of thing. I don't know if you know too much about health psychology as it is, but it basically looks at so kind of individuals who have chronic illnesses, for example, so like diabetes, chronic pain, cancer, things like that, and it kind of looks at the psychological impact of that. So it's a relatively new kind of field, but I did some work experience actually on a few different projects just to see what I kind of enjoyed and what I liked doing, and that was where I just found it so fascinating. I actually worked on a cancer research project. I can't remember the exact name, but I was able to do some of the interviews with some of the cancer patients who'd done like an exercise and psychology intervention. And it was just amazing to hear how all of them said, I really didn't want to do the psychology. I did not want to have to sit with a counsellor. I did not want to speak to them. And they all came out and absolutely loved it at the end. And, you know, they all of their, so it basically looked at their recovery rate after having cancer-related surgery. And all of them, so 100% of the participants of the study improved their recovery rate just by exercise and kind of having a bit of psychological input. So I think that was a big one for me. That was a big kind of turning point that I just was so fascinated by it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So then, so after the health psychology masters, what was going on in your head then? Where did what was your plan?
Yeah, so this is another really kind of challenging bit, I think, is a lot of people kind of assume that once you've done a degree, you'll naturally kind of fit into a job. And it's actually not, it's not that easy. I mean, it is possible, obviously, and you can do it, but it does take quite a lot of perseverance. So I looked at quite a few, I really wanted to get some more experience kind of in the clinical world, I guess, because I don't have that much. Really. So I looked at loads of assistant psychologist positions within the NHS. I think I applied for about 5 or 6 and didn't even get any interviews. So it's incredibly competitive. And I also looked at applying for a few PhDs. Didn't get a look in, didn't get any interviews there either. So like it's a whole new world. You're kind of thrown into this like adult world essentially. And I was a bit like overwhelmed and kind of blown away by how kind of competitive it is. So sorry, going back, so I've waffled on a bit there, but going back to the an actual plan, my plan was to get kind of a year's worth of clinical experience. So ideally I really wanted an assistant psychologist role, but I did look at others. There's quite a few NHS related ones, so like you can do support work and things like that, and so I applied for a few of them as well. So I wanted to do that for about a year, and now I'm starting to look at PhDs again so that I can qualify as an official psychologist and kind of go a bit on my own and kind of follow that route. So that's the plan. But
Wow. Do you think you're on track to get to where you want to be?
Yeah, definitely. And there's loads of university courses that the doctorate, like the actual doctorate course, so that you do that for educational psychology or clinical psychology. So it's a 3-year PhD, but it's very clinical based. So I want to go more research route. And I've spoken to people who are now in their 3rd or 4th year of being an assistant, and they're just getting onto the doctorate courses now. But they've all said, that they really valued the experience, and actually if they'd gone on to the doctorate, they would have just been so overwhelmed and it just would have been way too much, that they've kind of actually really appreciated being knocked back so many times, because at least they've gathered so much more confidence and so much kind of experience in that they now feel that 3-year doctorate's a breeze.
Wow.
Maybe not quite.
So if you're thinking, we've got year 12 students who are currently thinking about what their future looks like, whether they are psychology students or not. If you think back to that time, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Oh, that's a really hard question as well. I think like I definitely wish that I'd gone with like kind of what I was interested in, as in I think I really wanted to be a doctor at first and do medicine, and I was so focused on that, and so like picked all my A levels, like I did A level chemistry and biology and all these ridiculous subjects that I wasn't really interested in, to be honest. I just did it to get into medicine. And I do regret that. I regret my A level choices. If I could go back, I would absolutely pick what I was really, really interested in, and actually what I really enjoy, because I think that is so important. And like there's so many kind of different options, even if like I don't use my biology or chemistry or English at all really, so I think it doesn't matter what you choose as long as you're kind of really interested in it and actually benefit from that, because regardless of what you do kind of in the future, I don't know, I just think you've got to be interested and you've got to be enjoying it, otherwise it's just not worth it. And I think the pressure just crippled me. I pulled out of all my medicine applications and just thought, actually I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, because I'm not enjoying it, not really having a good time. So yeah, definitely kind of just focusing on what you enjoy, and don't put too much pressure on yourself, because it will all come together in a weird way. Like I'm 7 years out of school now, and all of my friends have had jobs for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years now, and I've kind of just come out of university, but I don't regret that at all, because I'm on the right path now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When it comes to choosing your university course, you said that you're a home bird and you knew that you wanted to stay close. But even then, how did you go about finding the course that was right for you? What kind of things did you prioritize and look at when considering the course?
So I also looked at, so I focused it on sport really. So that kind of whittled out and there's loads of kind of big unis that do sport, like Loughborough and all those ones. But I actually wanted a really small course group. So that was one thing I looked at, because I only had 18 on my course for my undergrad, compared to the sports science, which had 130 or something like that. So that was one of my main ones as well. I wanted a slightly smaller group, one with like good sport facilities. So that's another thing I kind of looked out for, and just had good kind of like social ratings as well, because I think the social aspect is really, really important when you go to university. Like I don't really like going out that much, so I didn't kind of get involved as I could have done, but there were so many different social aspects that I really enjoyed. Like I was part of the hockey team, the netball team, and that was a big thing for me, kind of fitting in that way. So yeah, I think kind of all of that combined, really, it's quite a lot to kind of take in. But you get about, I think it's 5 different options you can apply, isn't it? Yeah, so I'd kind of suggest, I did apply for a few slightly further afield, just in case I changed my mind kind of as the time went on. So yeah, I kind of had a bit of a mix really in there to kind of keep it as much to my interests as possible, really.
Okay. If you're thinking, because our year 12s are obviously going through the period of choosing courses, choosing universities, looking at apprenticeships, they're having to write personal statements. Do you have any recollection of that time of writing your personal statement?
Well, actually, weirdly enough, I didn't have to do one for my undergraduate, because no, and I don't know why. I think it's got a bit of a niche course, sports psychology. So yeah, no.
What did you have to do? Was it simply the UCAS application?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even have an interview or anything.
Wow, sis, you are one of the lucky ones.
I know, incredibly lucky. Because with my medicine applications, I did do a personal statement for that, actually. But that was hard, like the amount of kind of prep and interview stuff I had to do for that. And then I applied for this sports psychology one and got an email about 2 months later being like, you're in, you start September the 10th or whatever. I was like, brilliant.
Wow. So many students will be hoping that that's the path that they take.
I know, sorry, I probably shouldn't have set the bar really low. But I am actually in the process of writing personal statements now for my PhD applications, although it's slightly different. you know, you still have to go through that process. I haven't got away with it quite that lightly. Yeah.
Okay. They knew.
Yeah, they did. They must have
something. If you think back to your role now, what do you enjoy most about it, and what do you find challenging?
So I really, really enjoy working with the clients, obviously, because we're a brain injury clinic type thing. So we see a lot of people who've had car crashes and things like that. So we have all sorts of ages as well. Like we have really young people to kind of really old people. And I really enjoy just listening to their stories as well. You'd think that they'd kind of be sick of repeating it, but they just go, it's just amazing what they've kind of been through and how they've kind of come out the other side. So I don't know if you probably won't know too much about brain injury, because I didn't really know too much until I started the job.
Not that much.
But sometimes your personality can be completely changed after you've had a brain injury. So we've got a lot of people who, I don't know, used to be really calm and really quiet and are now really loud and really aggressive and things like that. So it's just kind of amazing to see their interpretation of things. And then you'll have their kind of families or their other halves saying they never used to be like that, or you know, things like that. So I really enjoyed that, you know, that kind of contact time with them. And it's really nice to kind of feel that you're making a difference, because sometimes even just talking to them once a week or whatever, however much we do, can really make such a difference for them, it's really nice. It makes you feel like you're improving their kind of lives a little bit, I guess, at a time.
And what do you find challenging?
Oh yeah, challenging, that was the other one. Well, it's quite difficult. I think actually for me, this is a bit of it's not challenging as such, but I find it quite a lot of pressure, because obviously I'm not qualified as a psychologist yet. I am just an assistant. I do have that clinical psychologist sitting in my sessions all the time, and I find that quite a lot of pressure, because they kind of sit there and you can see them writing their notes and things like that, and then you have to have like a supervision session after each of your sessions. I mean, it's all great. Like you do really need to have that supervision and all that feedback. But I do find that quite challenging sometimes, or you kind of say something to your client and you kind of think, oh, I don't know if I should have said that or not, and you can kind of feel them judging you from the other side. But other than that, I don't really find anything particularly challenging. I think actually as well, for me, I'm quite a emotional person, and I do really struggle sometimes when the clients, you know, some of them just have really, really awful times, and it's really hard kind of watching them just go through it, and sometimes they can't even express their emotions, because it's just they don't even know themselves. So I find that really hard, like when they get really upset and there's almost nothing you can do apart from support them and really try to support them on their way. But I do find that quite challenging, and it's quite hard to switch off when you go home, because you get quite emotionally attached to your kind of clients.
Is that where the supervision comes in and supports as well?
Absolutely. Although he's kind of assigned as like a mentor, he is also like my psychologist in a way.
Yeah.
You do need one. I've had a few times where I've kind of come out of a session and just burst into tears, because I just think it's just so overwhelming sometimes, and the fact that and they can be so willing to take on what you're saying and saying, oh, thank you so much, but you just know, like, you still feel that you're kind of so involved with it that it is really hard.
How much do you think it would change, Jasmine, literally going from you not being qualified but having all of this experience to the next day you being qualified? Do you think you will have that feeling of, okay, now I've got kind of the badge, I feel confident enough to do this?
I don't know. I actually don't think I will. I think it will be really nice. The first few weeks I'll be like, yeah, I'm a psychologist now, this is great. And then I think it will hit me that it will just be me in the session, and I'll think, wow, this is me now. But that you learn so much from your kind of experiences like this. Like, I've only been working in this job for 10 months now.
Okay.
So I graduated in September, and I've learned so like so much already, and I feel like my kind of own communication skills with clients has massively changed. I went in quite like, oh yeah, I'd do it like this and that and that, and then you pick up yourself and think, actually that was a really awful way to go about it. So now I kind of do it completely differently, and something that I'd never really thought of. So hopefully I'll be confident when I get there.
Of course you will. With all this experience and your confidence. It does sound like, well, I know from the fact that even in our year 12 group, psychology is an incredibly, it's, you know, we've got several classes, it's very popular, and it's a very competitive industry. And, you know, by the sounds of things, the amount of jobs that you've applied for, positions, it's incredibly competitive. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I think you do, and it can be. I don't want to put anyone off. Like, psychology is great, definitely. If you're interested, it's a route to go down. But yeah, and I think, and it's hard, like when you're kind of coming out of uni and you really want to start a job and you're just having no luck, and it's quite a confidence knock. You think there's been many a time where I've kind of sat at home and been like, I just don't want to do it anymore. Like, why didn't I pick a career that was kind of easier to get into and kind of to follow and have a stable job? But then I just think, I look back and think how much I absolutely love what I'm doing now, and just think it's so worth it, even getting the knockdowns. And I just think the place I work at now, I'd never heard of really. I dropped them an email on a complete off chance and said, look, I'm really struggling to get a job, like, is there any chance I can just get some extra work experience or anything extra with you? I started going in 1 day a week, and kind of a month later I got offered a job there. So it kind of all perfectly fell into place after some time. So I think, yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster, but it's so worth it in the end, so worth it.
My final question to you, Jasmine, is, obviously in a secondary school we've got year 7 right the way through to year 13 in sixth form. Many of them have already chosen what they're going to do, and they're either going to be going to uni or apprenticeships, hopefully in the past the summer months. If you think back, what advice would you give to the younger years, the year 7s upwards, you know, even looking to try to find what they might want to do, but also to year 10s who will be thinking about what A levels they will be taking, and year 11s who are kind of already chosen them? What advice would you give to them?
I think for definitely for the younger years, almost just get as much experience as you can and kind of explore all your different options. I think if you've got a career set in your mind, then that is great, and absolutely head towards that. But if you're kind of struggling and you're not really sure where you want to go, just really think about kind of your own interests and what you really enjoy learning about and things like that, and just get as much experience as you can. I think that would be a big one for me, because, you know, I did some teaching before because I thought, well, maybe I'll go into teaching, and decided I really hated it and thought, no, I can't do that. But even, you know, working in a school, that to me was, I mean, it was completely valuable, even though I know I don't want to go down that route. It's kind of told me, oh, I've tried it and I don't want to follow that. So I think, yeah, just trying as many different things as possible, really. And also, it doesn't really, like, because I've got friends, so my whole course of my undergrad was about 18 of us, like I said earlier, and none of them have followed a career in psychology, which is really interesting.
That's really interesting. What kind of things have they gone on to do?
There's so many different things. So my friend has just applied for a nursing master's, so she's going to be a nurse. Yeah, we've got loads in like recruitment, business, sports coaching, teaching. So, like, I think even if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, but you think, you know, you want to go to university, I definitely 100% advise it, and go for, just pick a subject that you think, oh, this looks really interesting, I'll enjoy it, because there'll be so many other options open after you've finished.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jasmine. That is a lot of information for us all to take on board. Thank you so much. We wish you we wish you all the best in everything that you are planning to do in your life, and we look forward to seeing you as a fully qualified psychologist
one day.
at some point down the line. We know it will happen.
I hope so.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. We will speak to you
Very
soon.
much. Speak to you soon.
Thanks.